Assalamu alaikum, how's it going? Welcome to a new episode of Fullmetal Fukumi Otaku News. So just like always, I'm starting with some quick self-PR to talk about the coffee blog and how I published another article regarding Heaven Burns Red. I'm trying to translate like the bi-weekly live stream of the Japanese version of Heaven Burns Red, where they reveal some new information and stuff. And I'm slightly behind. I'm like 1 month behind the stream, so I'm slowly catching up. And I posted a new stream summary. And this one was the stream where they announced the third Angel Beats collab, which is still ongoing on the Japanese version of the game, the Japanese and Chinese and Korean version of the game until February 2nd. And this time they added Sekine as a playable character together with Yui and Iwasawa-san. And the new collab story is focusing on Sekine. And Yui and Iwasawa-san, they don't have story elements. They don't actually appear in the story. They're just playable. They're just there, but they don't actually appear in the story. So yeah. So I did a summary of this stream and how they explained that now, thanks to Heaven Burns Red, and with when you have the anime, the original anime and the game and Heaven Burns Red, all the Girls Dead Monster, they have all their stories out now, because thanks to Heaven Burns Red, like all the characters have the story out. So like if you like Angel Beats and if you wanna know their backstory of all the Girls Dead Monsters characters, who definitely play Heaven Burns Red. And the English version of Heaven Burns Red has already confirmed that they're going to do the Angel Beats collab at some point, but they didn't say when. So yeah, you should still have to wait a few months, maybe even a few years, because I assume they're not going to release them all at once. Like maybe on the first anniversary as an English version, they're going to do the first collab and then the second one and then the third one. This is also something I already talked about in a previous video, but usually the Angel Beats collab is for the anniversary of Heaven Burns Red, but this year, they did it in December, starting December and until February. And February is the anniversary, it's going to be the third anniversary of the game. So everyone is wondering, what are they going to do this year? Because usually they do the Angel Beats, the AB collab as the anniversary. So certainly they must have planned something else this year. And my theory is like, since Key is going to do a Summer Pockets anime in 2025, it's going to air like pretty soon. Maybe they're going to do a Summer Pockets collab or something. So we'll see what happens in February, inshallah. So Bushiroad has officially announced the Capo remake, and it's called Capo Retune, and there's still no release dates or there's still no platforms yet announced. So they revealed this teaser trailer, like retracing some of the key visuals of the series, and then revealing the heroines of the first game and how they're appearing in this remake again, but with different seiyuu now, which is like a staple of most Bishoujo galge remakes nowadays. They pick like newer seiyuu, and how there's also going to be like, this is some of the three of the original heroines that will be appearing again in this remake. And they also revealed that there's going to be a brand new heroine that's going to be appearing there. So this is a character that even like fans of the series don't know about. So it's definitely like, maybe they're going to do something to try and tie it up with some other games in the series or something. But like, you can tell, because they're adding a new character, you can tell it's definitely going to be like maybe some kind of like new story that will tie up to Capo 5, which was released recently. Like, that's my theory regarding why they're doing this. And so yeah, so you have the three characters, these three heroines. This is how they looked like in the original game. So you can tell this art style is a little bit different. And however, the character designer of the remake is the two character designers actually. There's Tanihara Natsuki, and Tanihara Natsuki, she's working on the Capo series since the very first fan disc, which was Capo White Season in 2022 or something, in 2002, 2003. Tenshi Otsu, yeah, Tenshi Otsu. So yeah, she's one of the main character designers of the series, and the other one is Takano Yuki, which is another illustrator of the Capo series for several years now, for like nearly 15 years. So this duo is the one handling the illustrations and the character design for the remake for Retune. And so yeah, so like I already talked about the remake announcement in our previous video. So Da Capo is a series like I know about it since I was a kid. So it's one of these series I wanna try and play one day. So I'm not gonna repeat what I already said in my previous video, but yeah, like I'm pretty curious what this remake will be like, and like it's pretty interesting that a lot of galge companies they keep doing this kind of remakes nowadays, remaking early 2000s bishoujo games like this. So hopefully it's actually going to be good. Yeah, they're definitely going to add new story elements if they're adding a new character. So that's pretty much everything, I guess. So, Gonzo Animation lately, they've been teasing that they're actually working on two new TV anime series that they're going to premiere. One is going to premiere in 2025, and the other one is going to premiere in 2026. And Gonzo, like, is this past few years, they've been very active on social media to release new merch of some of their older series, most notably new merch of Kaleido Star. So I'm wondering, because there's also going to be a Kaleido Star 20 anniversary event in April, I'm wondering maybe one of these two anime projects is maybe going to be a new Kaleido Star TV anime series or something. So yeah, Kaleido Star, I actually never watched it, but this is also something I've heard about like ever since. In 2003, I was already watching anime weekly with my siblings with fan subs, so we actually heard about it, but we never watched it. And so because in 2003 you already had Gundam Seed, etc., and that's when basically Gundam Seed in 2001 2002 is when I started watching anime seasonally with my siblings every week, and I did this until 2016. And nowadays I obviously still watch anime, but I don't really follow the seasons anymore, and I just watch stuff when I feel like it. And most of the time I watch stuff with my family without really caring about the seasonals and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, Kaleido Star, always heard a lot of really good things about it. So this is one of these. This is also one of the few early 2000 series that I still never watched, because like, not to brag, but I think I'm a pretty big specialist when it comes to early 2000 anime, because yeah, like I just said, I watched most of these series live when they were airing like weekly. So this is actually one of the few series from that era that I never watched, but I keep hearing a lot of good things about it, especially around 10 years ago, around 13 years ago, in 2001 to 2014, when Preterism was airing. And like I always say, Preterism is my favorite anime of the last decade. It's a masterpiece, and it's like the best anime of the last decade. A lot of people like I say a lot, but like very few, because there weren't many people watching Preterism, like be it in Japan or around the world. Like there weren't many people watching Preterism, but the few people who I knew who also watched it and who also watched Kaleido Star, they told me that Kaleido Star is kind of similar. So if I like Preterism, I will definitely like Kaleido Star as well. So it's also one of the reasons why I want to watch it. So yeah, so even if they actually announce a sequel or a remake or whatever, I'm always the kind of person who wants to watch and experience the first thing first. So I don't really care, even if there's, for example, even if a game has a remake and the remake is actually better, etc. I don't really care. I wanna play the original first. So yeah, so even if this is actually a Kaleido Star remake or a Kaleido Star sequel or whatever, if they actually announce one, I'm obviously going to watch this first. And the other problem with me is how I don't really like watching anime alone, but nowadays I'm an adult and my siblings are adults and they have their own lives and stuff, so it's very difficult to watch anime together and to synchronize our schedules and stuff. So I watch very low a low quantity of anime, and I only watch it if I'm with my family. So hopefully I'll be able to watch Kaleido Star with my siblings or with my nieces or something. So that's the plan anyway. Hopefully I'll be able to do it, inshallah. But yeah, like Gonzo is basically, long story short, Gonzo is working on 2 anime series, and one of them is planning to debut to be announced in 2025. So next up, we're going to talk about Rusty Rabbit. So NetEase has announced has officially announced a release date for Rusty Rabbit, and it's a 2D scrolling action game with some like a lot of action, high speed action. It's written by Urobuchi, who is like the main scenarist and main writer for Phantom, Madoka Magica, Rakuen Tsuiho, Expelled from Paradise, Psychopath, etc. This is one of a game. It was announced around 2 years ago. Like there's some RPG elements as well and some customization elements as well. So it is definitely one of the games I'm looking forward to the most this year. And so yeah, despite being a NetEase game, because yeah, I'm not a big fan of NetEase, despite this, like I'm really looking forward to this. And so yeah, so let's publish this release date reveal trailer, and they also announced a demo as well. So let's watch the trailer for now, and then I'm gonna keep commenting on stuff. So yeah, I worked on Read and Fate Zero, Psychopath, etc. Thunderbolt Fantasy as well, recently, etc.
Kawaii Usagi? Shiranai ne.
So yeah, and you had like a lot of seiyuu. So you don't hear them in the trailer, but like the game has a lot of very popular seiyuu as well. So yeah, Rusty Rabbit is going to release on April 17th, and also announced a demo is going to be released in a few days on February 21st. So in around 1 month and a half, there's going to be a demo as well. And Rusty Rabbit, one other very appealing thing is cast, but I think I forgot to open a page listing the casts. But you most probably have Kuroda Takuya, who is like known outside Japan for voicing Kiryu in the Ryuga Gotoku series, in the Yakuza series. Like he's voicing the protagonist Rabbit. And you also have many popular seiyuu, most probably a lot of seiyuu also appeared in Naruto. And that's one of my theories. In my opinion, I think some of the people, because Naruto in China is one of the most popular anime series as well. So often these last 5 or 6 years, when you have gacha games, especially when you have Chinese and Korean games, but especially when it comes to Chinese games, because the Chinese otaku, a lot of them are fans of Naruto, of Evangelion, and other like late 90s, early 2000s anime. They often tend to bring back the seiyuu from these series. So you have Naruto seiyuu, you also have, I think, Shotaro Morikubo appearing in the game as well. You don't hear him in the trailer, but you have a lot of seiyuu from the early 2000s. It's the same thing with a lot of gacha games as well. They always bring popular seiyuu from the early 2000s to voice characters who look very similar to the characters that they voiced back then. And another seiyuu also in the game is Fairu's Eye, who is one of my favorite newer seiyuu. She debuted around 6 years ago with Danberu. I'm talking about her pretty often. And sadly, she announced recently she's going into hiatus for health reasons. So hopefully she'll be fine and she'll be able to keep voicing stuff pretty soon, because she's like one of the most talented seiyuu of this last 10 years, in my opinion, Fairu's Eye. And yeah, she announced recently on Twitter on December 31st, she's announced her indefinite hiatus from voice acting due to health complications surrounding PTSD. So yeah, she voiced a lot of characters, and nowadays she's really popular because she did Power in Chainsaw Man, which is one of the most popular series nowadays, and she voiced several other characters as well. To be honest, because I just said like earlier when I was talking about Kaleido Star, because I don't really watch that many airing anime nowadays, I don't know that much of her roles, but I definitely really became a huge fan of her after voicing Hibiki, after she voiced Hibiki in Danberu, because the Danberu manga is really nice. So I was reading the manga, so I watched the anime as well. So yeah, and Urobuchi again, like if you were listening to me, you obviously already know about him. But yeah, if he wrote a lot of masterpieces, so the scenario for Rusty Rabbit is definitely going to be very interesting as well. And like the another interesting thing I want to talk about is how the game is rated 0A. So obviously this means that despite being written by Urobuchi, there's not going to be any gore or any like extremely dark stuff, but at least that's visually, because 0A in Japan, this means that visually you don't show anything like violent or like too adult, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the story will be childish, because every Dragon Quest game is 0A or 0B at most, and they often have very dark stories at times, especially when it comes to the side quests. For example, the Mermaid side quest in Dragon Quest 11, to take a popular game. Like, I think most people played Dragon Quest 11 outside Japan, so if you know what I'm talking about regarding the Mermaid quest, like this is one of the most dark elements in the game. So yeah, and children like Joji Muke とかなんか children anime in Japan, even if they're for children, they often have very dark twists and like some very like gloomy elements sometimes. So even if it's 0A, like maybe there's going to be a very dark story in there maybe, but like you shouldn't expect this anyway. Like obviously Urobuchi is known for writing dark stories, but you shouldn't necessarily expect a dark story from this. But my point is even if it's 0A, you shouldn't expect this to be for children either, because like this can go either way basically. So that's my point. So yeah, the game is going to release in April 17, and there's going to be a demo. So inshallah I will be trying the demo and like share my impressions maybe on my coffee blog, and maybe in another video we'll see how it goes. And another thing regarding Rusty Rabbit is how this past year the NetEase YouTube has been like publishing a lot of interviews and a lot of videos regarding the game. Most notably, they did a series of live streams and videos, so I wanna try and translate this one day when I can, because series is definitely interesting, because Urobuchi was on all of these videos talking about the game and stuff, so I wanna watch them and translate them at some point. And they also published some short interviews with all the seiyuu. So yeah, you have Han Megumi, you have a lot of very very popular seiyuu. You have Fighters Eye here, Morikubo Shotaro, Shikamaru in Naruto, Kujira Orochimaru in Naruto, Sugita Tomokazu, Hayami Sho, etc. Kobayashi Yu-san, etc. So they picked a lot of very popular seiyuu for the cast. So this is another reason why I'm very looking forward to this game, Rusty Rabbit. So next up, Pixel has announced they're going to release Angelian Trigger on Steam. So Angelian Trigger is already available on Nintendo Switch, and it's a game heavily inspired by Space Harrier from Sega on arcade and Master System. So it's a game where you're running like straight and shooting. So it's a pseudo 3D game. It's similar to Space Harrier, to Afterburner, etc. Two Sega games, right? I saw someone I know play this game on Switch, and I thought it looked really interesting. So I'm looking forward to the Steam version. Because I don't think I'm going to buy it on Switch, so I'm happy as Steam version is coming. And I actually always really liked Space Harrier, because like I like Cobra, obviously Space Adventure Cobra, and the protagonist was based on Cobra, and with the Psycho gun, right? So that's why I always liked Space Harrier, and why I'm looking forward to this as well. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is how the characters look really cool and cute as well. And the character designer is Kimura Akihiro, who is a mangaka and an artist, and he was most notably the characters designer and artist for Emerald Dragon, which is a very popular RPG that was on Japanese PCs, released in the late 80s in 1989, and then it got ported to several Japanese PCs and to PC Engine as well. And I never played it, but I've heard about it for quite a while. And in 2019, the game was celebrating its 30th anniversary, so they did an exposition and some talk show with Akihiro Kimura. So that was back in 2019, right? So I really like his style. This is all illustrations from the PC engine of Emerald Dragon, and it's a very, like, I'm sure if you're actually watching my videos, I'm sure you've already heard about this game in the past. So yeah, so he's the character designer for Angelian Trigger. So the characters look really cool and cute. So this is another reason why I'm looking forward to this game. And Pixel, like their name indicate, they're mainly making pixel art game and like old looking games. And another game they did recently is this one, the Futago Usagi no Gokinjo Tsurismo. So I opened up the game here, and this was released on Switch as well in 2024. So I assume there's going to be a PC version coming at some point as well. So this is like an arcade game, like with a top-down view and some many different views, because you have a top-down views and with some scrolling, you have some yoko scrolling, some tate scrolling. Like it's a car chasing game, but with many different gameplays, and you're switching constantly between stages, between the various gameplays. And I watched someone play this game as well, and I really liked it. So this is also why I need to try this out as well at some point. So yeah, so you have some horizontal scrolling, some vertical scrolling, so with some very cute girls as well. So it's also why I wanna try out this game. So yeah, so Angelian Trigger and this as well. Futago, what was the name again? Futago Usagi no Gokinjo Turismo. So these two games and Angelian Trigger, you should keep them on your watch lists because they are really interesting in my opinion. And so Pixel, they also announced another game like back in 2020 called Asteria no Tsubasa, Wing of the Asteria. And I actually made an article about this game back when it was announced in 2020, I think. And they still never released it, and it got delayed and delayed several times. And back in June 2023, they released a new trailer, but yeah, the game still has no release date. So this also a pixel game I'm looking forward to, and it's an horizontal shoot 'em up, right? An horizontal shoot 'em up with some Greek mythology inspired. So you have a lady in bikini armor riding a Pegasus and shooting like monsters and stuff. And the character designer for this Asteria no Tsubasa is Shujiro, whose real name is Hamagawa Shujiro. So he's a very talented artist and character designer who's been working in the anime industry for quite a long while, and he was most notably one of the authors and the character designer for Salty Ray. Salty Ray is a pretty nice anime from the mid 2000s, 2005. I actually never finished watching it. I watched the first 3 episodes or so back when it was airing, and then I forgot why. Maybe I was too busy with something, or maybe I was watching something else. I forgot. We watched this with my siblings, like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then we never watched the rest of the series. So I gotta watch the rest one day. So yeah, Shuziro, I really like his character design because I like the character design in this series. Especially Salty, she's really really cute. So that's also one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to Asteria and Tsubasa. So that's another game Pixel is making. So yeah, and they're going to release Angelian Trigger sometime in 2025 on PC. So like I'm really looking forward to this. Oh yeah, and Akihiro Kimura is the character designer of Angelian Trigger and the character designer of Emerald Dragon. Besides this, when it comes to his mangaka career, he also actually worked on some of the Super Robot Wars OG manga adaptations, and he was most probably doing the OG Divine Wars manga adaptation, which was happening together with the Record of Ariax manga adaptation, which is still ongoing, by the way. The second part, the second season, like the Z Inspector arc, is still ongoing in manga, but the Divine Wars manga is over for a long while. So yeah, he worked on several Super Robot Tyson manga adaptation as well, and he was working also on some of the anthologies. This is the one thing I'm really sad, like Bandai Namco has stopped doing this. Like back 20 until around the early 2000s, whenever there was a new Super Robot Wars game, they will always release these anthologies with tons of various mangaka and write sometimes fun stories, sometimes comedic, sometimes serious stories with the characters appearing on a game. So, for example, this was the comic anthology for Alpha 2. So you had all the series in Alpha 2 in various stories and various comedic situations and sometimes more serious situations as well. So this is something like I doubt they will ever do this again, and I'm not sure why they stopped. Maybe some kind of copyrights problems or something, like I don't know, because this was official, but it was pretty much like doujinshi, right? So like I never know why they stopped. I don't think I ever heard of an actual official reason why they stopped doing this, but it's doing this. So yeah, like I already said in a previous video, there's a new Super Robot Wars game currently in development by Bandai Namco. They didn't specify yet if it's going to be a new OG game or a new usual crossover game, but I'm extremely looking forward to it either way. So maybe it's going to be announced on the Switch too or something. Maybe Nintendo will reveal it in a future Nintendo Direct or something, because the two last Super Robot Wars games, as far as I know, they were first revealed announced on Nintendo Directs, right? At the very least, Super Robot Wars 30, it was announced on a Nintendo Direct first. So I'm hoping like the next Super Robot Wars game is going to be announced pretty soon. So yeah, Akihiro Kimura, beside doing Emerald Dragon and beside doing Angelian Trigger, he also actually did several manga adaptations for Super Robot Wars in the past. That's one thing I wanted to specify as a fan of the series. So Shibuya Azuki, who is voicing Doroshi in Piripara, she announced that she's coming back to the seiyuu industry, because back in 2024 she announced that she was taking a break from the seiyuu industry, and now on January 6th she announced on her socials that she's coming back, and this is pretty hype for me because, as you know, I'm a very big fan of the Pretty series and of Pretty Para as well, and I'm really hoping this means she will be voicing some kind of cool character in an upcoming anime or game, because this is something I bring up regularly in my videos, but like out of all the Iris members, because she used to be Shibuya Azuki, she was part of Iris, the idol seiyuu group by Avex, which started in 2012, and like all the members of Iris, they're extremely talented as seiyuu, but sadly only Serizawa Yu got a really big career when it comes to seiyuu career. Serizawa Yu, she's the boing boing girl in Zenless Zone Zero. She's Karerin and Karen-chan in Heaven Burns Red, and she voiced several anime characters. But sadly, all the other members of Iris, sadly, they didn't get a bigger seiyuu career, even though they're so talented. And especially my favorite voice is Yamakita Saki, who was voicing Shion in Piripara. Shion is my favorite character in Piripara, starting from at least when it comes to season 1 characters, and I really like her manly voice she does for Shion. So I'm really sad she never really got to voice more characters in anime or in games. So only Serizawa Yu is kind of everywhere. Like she got popular when as a seiyuu, and she's like everywhere. But sadly, the other Iris members aren't very popular when it comes to the seiyuu industry. So I'm hoping with Shibuya Azuki coming back as a seiyuu, I'm hoping she's going to voice some characters soon in some upcoming game or some upcoming anime. And if there's an announcement that she's voicing someone, she's voicing a new character, I'll be sure to mention it in a Otaku News show, inshallah. So next up is some short news regarding Quester, the dungeon crawler RPG I talked about in a previous video. So like I said, this is a very cool dungeon crawler game. So with some tons of customizations and some possibilities, combo possibilities when it comes to classes. So if you like this kind of stuff, you should definitely check it out. So Quester, I'm talking about it again because the character designer of the game is Hagiwara Kazushi, right? Hagiwara Sensei, who is mangaka for Bastard, which is a very popular dark fantasy 80s manga. I already talked about it in a previous video. So anyway, the developers of Quester and its sequel, Quester Osaka, 1000 Games, they teased on Twitter that they're trying to work on a sequel, because for now you have Quester and then the second game is Quester Osaka, and they're planning to make a third game. And they said on Twitter that Quester Osaka is starting to sell pretty well on Steam, so hopefully the game keeps selling, so this way they will be able to do another sequel. And by the way, they're also making another game called Monochrome Echoes. They crowdfunded it, and the crowdfunding has managed to reach its goal, and there was another crowdfunding for an English version, for an English localization, which also reached its goal, so this is very promising. So yeah, so they're working on this game, and hopefully they will be able to make a third Quester game. And Musotabi, he is a 1000 Games Twitter account that teases that Hagiwara Sensei has actually already made a final boss for the next game. So he's really passionate about the project, and he's really invested in the project. They say that the third game is not even greenlit yet. They're not even sure if they're actually going to make a third game or not. But Hagiwara Sensei has already designed a final boss. So they really hope that Quester and Quester Osaka and Monochrome Echoes will keep selling, will sell pretty well. So this way they'll be able to make a third Quester game. So they'll be able to show the final boss Hagiwara Sensei has designed. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I really hope Quester will keep selling. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. It's just a very good game in my opinion. So you should definitely check it out if you haven't yet. Another very quick news is how Ambe Yoshiro, the character designer of the Romancing Saga 2 remake, these past few weeks, basically ever since the remake was released, he's been sharing on Twitter some of the original designs he made for the game before they were made into 3D. So it's very interesting because he's been publishing the original 2D illustrations for all the characters in the game, and like you should follow him on Twitter. Sadly, I know Twitter is trash nowadays, but yeah, you still have some really cool things happening there nowadays. So he's been posting these, like he posted ton of them, pretty much all of the playable characters in the game, all the classes in Romancing Saga 2. He redesigned everything for the remake, right? Along with the bosses as well. So he's been sharing some comments on each of the designs as well, some very short comments. So if you're a huge Roma Saga fan, and if you wanna, like, I don't think I will do it myself because I already have so many projects, but like I would really appreciate it if someone compiles all the illustrations and translates his observations when it comes to the designs, because this must be extremely interesting. And as a huge aficionados of the Saga series and the Romancing Sakatsu, like I really like the work he did for this remake. So yeah, so I'm hoping that someone will translate his comments one day because I don't want to do it myself. So yeah, Ambe Yoshiro is also he was also the character designer for the Seiken Densetsu 3 remake, and in my opinion, he's an incredible illustrator. He's been doing a really great job with the Square Enix remakes, and he's also an illustrator who's regularly working on some soshage, on some gacha games, right? So, for example, on Genshin and Zenless Zone Zero, he often does what we call Kinen Irasto. So, Kinen Irasto is like celebration illustrations when the game is celebrating an anniversary, when it's the birthday of a character, and they publish official illustrations. They hire professional artists to do these. So we often call them official fan art because it's not by the original character designer, but it's by other artists that they hire to draw them. So Ambe Yoshiro is also the character designer of a French RPG called Alzara Radiant Echoes. It's scheduled to be released in 2026, and I'm really looking forward to this because it's a turn-based RPG, and it's by French people as well. So that's why I'm looking forward to it. And the character design is incredibly cool, and you have several dark skinned characters as well. So that's why I'm really looking forward to it. Back when this was announced, a lot of people has mistakenly said that Ambe Yoshiro is the character designer of Genshin Impact, which is not true because Genshin, sadly, like many other soshage, they don't actually credit the staff, their own staff. They only say Hoyoyo Mihoyo is doing the game. They don't say who in Mihoyo has designed which character. This is not public information, sadly. They don't credit the illustrations, the designers. And sadly, this is something nearly every gacha game does. For example, Heaven Burns Red, except if Yugen-san is the original character designer of Heaven Burns Red, but is not the person who is actually drawing every single style illustration in the game, right? So unless he did the style illustration himself, they don't credit who did the illustration in Right Flyer Studio. They just say that it's artist's team in Right Flyer Studios, it's developing studio of Heaven Burns Red. They don't say who in particular. And sadly, this is something with every gacha game nowadays. They don't credit people, they don't credit voice actors, etc. And this is one of the many problems of the gacha games that sadly no one talks about, because people only talk about how gacha games are predatory when it comes to their revenue systems, when it comes to giving people an addiction, etc., which is true, but I wish more people talk about the other problems as well. And another major problem with gacha games is how they don't credit people, they don't credit their staff. So yeah, and anyway, so Ambe Yoshiro is one of the Kinen artists. He does Kinen Irasto for Zenless Zone Zero and for Genshin, but he is not the character designer for Zenless Zone Zero or Genshin. So this is something a lot of people need to understand. So anyway, so yeah, he's also doing illustrations for Fire Emblem, the Fire Emblem gacha as well. This is Aidin from Seisen no Keifu. Like, this is a really incredible illustration. Imagine if Nintendo, they announced a Nintendo Switch 2, they announced a remake of Fire Emblem 4, Fire Emblem Seisen no Keifu, and they say that Ambe Yoshiro is a character designer. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm maybe hoping, like, imagine if this happens. If they make a remake of Fire Emblem 4, I really hope they pick a really good character designer like Ambe Yoshiro, because his designs for heroes, they're incredibly cool. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up. So the final thing I wanted to bring up today is how Kadokawa on January 9th has announced that Dragon Magazine is going to end publication in March, which means that there's only 2 issues of the magazine left before it ends. And Dragon Magazine is going to get replaced basically by a web magazine called Mekuri. And it's basically going to be based on Kimirano, which is a web service that Kadokawa has launched for a while now. And basically, they're going to do a new service called Mekuru based on this, and all the series that are on Dragon Magazine should be moved there. And Dragon Magazine is started in 1989, 1988, and it's like one of the biggest, most influential magazines when it came to light novels, because a lot of light novels they used to have their chapters pre-published just like manga, right? Just like in, to take a mainstream example, Shonen Jump magazine releases every week. You have some pre-publication of a manga, and then every 4 or 5 months you have a volume release which compiles chapters. This is the same system. Like Dragon magazine, it used to have chapters, pre-published chapters of light novels. So tons of very popular series alike used to be pre-published on Dragon magazine. For example, Data Life, which is a pretty good series. In my opinion, it's like one of the best rom-coms, harem fantasy rom-coms of the 2010s, in my opinion. It's not a masterpiece, but it's still better than a lot of other series, in my opinion. So, Data Life, for example, Scrapped Princess was pre-published in Dragon magazine. Slayers, of course, which is the best fantasy novel of all time. Full Metal Panic as well was pre-published in Dragon magazine. The third, Aoi Hitomi no Shoujo, a really good and incredible post-apocalyptic sci-fi series I really like. There was a TV anime adaptation in the mid 2000s. If you never watched this, you should definitely watch it. It's one of the best anime of all time, in my opinion, when it comes to sci-fi and mecha, etc. And Kaze no Tairiku and tons of other. When it comes to 80s and 90s OVA and movies, some of them were adapted from light novels, and some of these light novels were initially published in Dragon magazine, and this is the case of Kaze no Tairiku, the Weathering Continent in English. This is a very famous movie from the fantasy movie from the early 90s, and the original light novel was pre-published in Dragon magazine, and most probably the character designer and illustrator was Inomata Mitsumi, who sadly passed away last year. So her little sister, who took over Inomata Mitsumi Sensei's Twitter account, she's regularly publishing some of the stuff her big sister drew over the decades. And with the news of Dragon magazine ceasing publication, she tweeted on Twitter on how Dragon magazine is like one of the first. It was like one of the first things that Inomata Mitsumi was known for, thanks to Kaze no Tairiku, thanks to doing the illustrations in Kaze no Tairiku. And so yeah, and Masasabi Kaze no Tairiku, it has two dark-skinned characters, and one of them is Lakshi, like a really, really cute girl. So like, even like I always say, Inomata Mitsumi, one of the many reasons why I really liked her, beside her amazing animation work in Senseiya, beside her amazing character design work in the Tales of series by Bandai Namco, one of the many other reasons why I really liked her and why she's one of my favorite character designers of all time is how she designed many, many black characters and many, many dark-skinned characters. And she's the case as well in Kaze no Tairiku. With two of the three characters in Kaze no Tairiku. So yeah, so all of these series are in Dragon magazine. So there's 2 issues left, and then in March the magazine will end publication after like nearly over 30 years. And when you think about it, in a way, like, it's surprising the magazine actually lasts this long, because the light novel industry with Konorado, not, what was the name again? 小説家になろう, with the rising of 小説家になろう, which is a site where you can self-publish your novel, and this is how a lot of Naro-kei, what we call Naro-kei, and in English we just say isekai, but like a lot of reincarnated in other world with some superpowers and overpowered and stuff. A lot of these like novels, web novels, were initially published on 小説家になろう, and then they got popular there. So my point is, like, for over nearly 20 years now, since the democratization of the internet. It's for over 20 years, a lot of light novels were more popular on the internet rather than on paper. And then you also had so yeah, the light novel industry has really, really changed these last 20 years. So you also had like the paper in Japan is very expensive. Manufacturing magazines in Japan is very expensive because of the paper has always been very expensive in Japan because of like the like it's hard to produce, and they're always importing wood, and that's why a lot of magazines, to take a popular example again, Shonen Jump magazine, the quality of the paper is very low because they're using low quality to reduce costs. So the rising cost of paper and how the like novel industry has changed like for over 20 years now, in a way I wouldn't have been surprised if Dragon magazine had stopped 15 years ago. So it's a surprise that it actually lasts this long. So yeah, and the latest issue this month had Fullmetal Panic Family on its cover, the sequel taking place over 20 years later, and this Tessa and Kaname on the cover. And yeah, Fullmetal Panic Family is one of the series that is currently pre-published in Dragon magazine. So once a few chapters have been released, then they compile them into volumes, and volume 2 was released a few weeks ago. So the author of Fullmetal Panic, Gato Shoji Sensei, he also tweeted something about it. I opened the tweet somewhere, I think. Yeah, so here, so yeah, he's saying like, just like I said, in a way, like it's surprising the Dragon magazine actually continued until now, because like no one would have been surprised if the magazine stopped like over 10 years ago, because yeah, the industry changed completely, etc. He's talking about all this. So yeah, I wanna try and make a detailed article on Dragon magazine if I have the time one day, to translate several uh, all the reactions from various authors, Kotobuki Tsukasa, what he said about it, etc. Like, to Araizumi Rui Sensei as well has tweeted about it. So the illustrator of Slayers, so he was part of the magazine since the very first issue. So yeah, he tweeted something about this as well. So I wanna try and do a detailed article to translate all the reactions to the magazine closing, and to make a more in detail article. But yeah, while the magazine is closing, this is what they said. Like in general, Kotobuki Tsukasa and Araizumi Rui, what they said is like, even if the Dragon magazine is closing down, like it's the series will continue and life continues. So yeah, so all the series should be moving to the web service they're going to launch, called Mekuri. So yeah, that's it for this episode of Fullmetal Fukumi Otaku News. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe. It's free and helps me out with the algorithm and stuff. And yeah, see you next episode. Bye.